you die, you leave all this shit behind anyway. Even your belief system. Most of the stuff that you believe, the universe don't give a fuck about. When you come up out this body, you gonna know everything anyway. And you gonna feel like a fool about the things that you held on to so hard as a human because it didn't even really serve you or other people. What's good, y'all? It is Jay here, your accountability coach and ghetto psychologist, and it is my life's purpose to help Black people unplug from this patriarchal system of white supremacy. Girl, we is taking it back to the roots today. We're getting into some shadow work. We're getting into some shadow work. We're getting into some personal development. We're getting into some spirituality. We're getting into some healing, which is really my bag, right? I'm an accountability coach. And if you know anything about shadow work, then you know that shadow work is nothing but accountability. You're assigning accountability, whether it be as accountability to yourself or others, versus blaming people gives them the power. Know that. All right, so my list of disclaimers is if you find anything in this video offensive, you disagree with the message or just the messenger, if something about me rubs you the wrong way, don't be mean. Just scroll. You don't know me. I don't know you. I didn't do anything to you, even if what I said bothered you. Learn how to move on. That is my biggest lesson for today, is to learn how to move on, even in moments where you disagree with people who say something that might go against your core beliefs, your spiritual beliefs, whatever they are. I don't care. I don't care what you believe in. Just don't come around here trying to dismiss what I'm doing, because my message is intended for the people that it's intended for, and if it's not you, then that's fine. Namaste. Anywho, we got some more copies. Look at this. So shiny. So shine. So shine. Thorn to the Eye, a Black person's guide to unplugging from the system. This book is available. I mean, I'm going to tell you, you can find it on Amazon, but it's going to be more expensive on Amazon than if you buy it from me. The digital copy is only available through my website, but you can get the book on Amazon. I'm going to do a video dedicated nothing to this book. I'm going to break down my favorite chapters, what they mean, and why you need to just let yourself glance the pages so that you can really see how deeply plugged into the system that you are. Because a lot of people don't realize how subconsciously plugged in they are into this system. So I'm just going to leave that right there. And if that bother you again, what I say, scroll. Let's get into what we're going to talk about today. Like I said, my disclaimers. Also, already, just don't be upset with anything that I say if it goes against what your core beliefs are. Just understand one thing, one central key thing I always want people to understand is when you die, you leave all this shit behind anyway. Even your belief system. Because most of the stuff that you believe, the universe don't give a fuck about. When you come up out this body, you gonna know everything anyway. And you gonna feel like a fool about the things that you held on to so hard as a human because it didn't even really serve you or other people. Thank you, Lord, for that message, because I swear. All right, so let's get into it. I want to talk about avoiding toxic positivity. I'm not gonna lie to you, when I started the spiritual journey 10 years ago, 2016 was when I first experienced my adult awakening, because I experienced my first connection, first real conversation with God at 10 years old. But it was until 2016 where I really recognized the power of God all over again, and in a way that I didn't before, right? Because I was 10, so I couldn't fathom, I couldn't receive, I couldn't perceive it at a higher elevation, than I do now, because I didn't have the awareness, I didn't have the maturity. So 10 years ago, I was 26, just to be candid. I was coming out of an abusive relationship with the father of my child, and I experienced a dark night of the soul. And on the other side of that was salvation, and not in a Christian way. I'm not Christian. I was found. I was saved. or at least I was starting my spiritual journey as an adult. As I went through that, I started to be a very toxic, positive person. I didn't realize it until hindsight set in, because one of my exes used to tell me, "You just always positive. You just always positive." And on one end, it's like, nigga, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with me being positive? But on the other end, I kind of was unrealistically positive, because to be honest, he was drowning, and my positivity was not gonna save him. He needed some practical advice. So I'm not really mad when I look back at it too much. But at the same token, I'm like, nigga, I was just trying to uplift you. That was all I could do. That was all I could do at the time. But anywho, when you are toxically positive, you are basically negating a side of reality, because you want to believe that everything is going to work out in your favor. But we already know, if you live long enough, you know everything don't work out in your favor all the time. Just don't. People who are toxically positive, they don't want to hear you complain about your current state. Like I said, it's always just be positive. It's okay. I know it's happening to you. But you have to believe that things get better. But sometimes they don't. And it's one thing to be toxically positive, and it's another thing to not offer real practical advice to people. Even if it's just saying, "Hey, I really wish I could help you. There's nothing that I can do, but I know this person that can help you," or "I know this person who went through what you did, what you're going through, and this is what they did to come up out of it." This is what people need. People don't want to hear, "Oh, just think positive," because just thinking positive is not enough. You need to have that positivity backed by action. And if somebody's already down in the dumps, they are not motivated or inspired to do a goddamn thing. You have to be the inspiration if you decide that you want to help that person. Don't be toxically positive to them, because what it does is it's not being a safe space for their negative emotions. A toxically positive person makes it seem as though you should not feel negative emotions, but every emotion on the spectrum is meaningful. It is purposeful. You need them. From anger to joy, does not matter. Allow yourself to sit in your emotions. Allow yourself to analyze them. Don't use your emotions all the time as fuel for behavior. Use it for fuel to introspect, so you can understand, why am I feeling this negative emotion? Where did this come from? What triggered it? Okay, and then if you want to get into some real deep shadow work, which we're gonna do, you got to go back even further to the first time you felt a certain emotion. But we're gonna get into that. You want to avoid toxic positivity, not only just for other people who need a safe space, and you just allow them to vent, right? Sometimes they don't even need the advice at all. Sometimes it's just be a listening ear. If you don't have anything meaningful to add to the conversation, if you don't have any advice to give, if there's no way you can help that person, just listen to them. Sometimes if you in person with them, just give them a hug. It's not about really trying to fix the problem, more so than it is just allowing people a safe space to vent and to lay out their grievances. But when it comes to avoiding toxic positivity personally, you want to avoid it because you don't want to deny your own emotion. Denying your own emotions is a form of self neglect. A lot of people probably gonna disagree. Me saying I don't, me not feeling like, me blah blah blah. No, when you deny how you feel, you're neglecting a part of yourself. Period. There's no other way you can look at that. Because why is it that you angry and you acting like you not? It's not going to serve you. All you're going to do is continue to allow that same emotion to fester, because instead of having the outer conflict of telling that person you mad or just being angry and allowing yourself to kind of decompress, you deny the emotion exists, and all you're going to do is just internalize it. And internalizing, even if you subconsciously suppress it, your body feels it. There's a book called Your Body Holds the Score. Check it out, because your body is a part of everything. All of this is works together. If you're stressed, your body's stressed. Your spiritual body is stressed also. all of your bodies are stressed. Your emotional body, which is also kind of the spiritual body, your physical body, and your mental body. All three of those are the holy trinity: mind, body, spirit. All of that. You cannot neglect yourself by deciding that you don't want to address your traumas, your emotions, because ultimately you are denying reality yet again. You're not living in the real. You cannot be delusioned or disillusioned, because this is a dangerous world to be delusional in. I don't think y'all get that. This is a part of the work that I'm doing, is to remove illusion from people, to allow you to unplug from the state of delusion that society has promoted to all of us. I've done this work. I'm still doing this work. I'm a human being. So many different ways. Like I said, so many different ways we're plugged in. I'm still uncovering some ways that I'm plugged in. But I know I'm more unplugged than most. Believe me, you have to just know me to know. I don't let what people do, say, how they behave. I don't let that affect me too much. I'm really sovereign. I'm sovereign. I let shit off my back. But I also am an emotional person, and I take ownership of what I've done and how I feel about shit. I don't live in a pseudo reality. I live in the reality that I'm creating, which is also reflected based on how I know this world operates. So you want to avoid toxic positivity, because also on the flip side of you're denying reality, you're also denying the possibilities. People don't understand who they can become once they heal. You don't understand who you can become once you step on that other side of personal development, self-awareness, just healing, accountability, all of that shit. Once you step on that other side, you turn into, yes, the better version of yourself, but an even better version of yourself that you might not even be able to fathom. You're gonna do shit that you can't even imagine right now. Or maybe you can imagine it, but it just feels so far away from you. And this is the work that I have to do with myself as well. But now I recognize the possibilities. I look at my life and all the things that I'm going through, and what I worked through, what I asked God, source, the universe for, what I received, how I handled it or mishandled it, how I felt about it, so that I won't miss out on the opportunities. Because if you deny reality, you're denying your opportunities as well. Can't have both. Can't say you're living in this kind of world, but what you want is in a totally different world than you can fathom. You have to also understand, when you are toxically positive, you are denying foresight. You're denying a foresight. Also, you're not going to be prepared for the worst, because you think everything's going to work out in your favor. And then when the worst comes, if you have already suppressed so many negative emotions, it might be your final straw, because you're not facing reality. You want to be prepared for the worst. I always say, hey, hope for the best, but be prepared for the worst, because you never want the worst to come and all you did was put all your eggs in one basket. Now, sometimes that risk, you can take that risk, and for some people it work out, but it's not often that it does. Let's talk about the effects. The effects of being toxically positive. I've never met a toxically positive person who really had their life all together. They are typically pushovers. They are typically people who can't accomplish a lot of goals. They are typically people who are very, very nice. But nice people scare me, because nice people always got that one strike that you can just push them over the edge. Like I said, I'm a kind person. I'm not really nice. And what that means to me, when you're nice, is you're docile. You might allow some things to happen to you. Me, I'm not in this. I used to be nice, but I'm not in the spirit of nice right now. I'm in the spirit of FAFO. So don't try your luck. But what I find with these type of people most of the time, like I said, is they put on this front like everything is okay, but they're deep down inside just so broken. But nobody knows, because they always want to be toxically positive. You know that statement when they say check on your strong friends? It's typically the toxic positive friend, because they're not going to tell you they're drowning. No, everything's fine. Drowning. Oh, everything's fine, girl. You is drowning. I see the water over your fucking head. That is what toxic positivity does to people. Be in the real. You're gonna be stagnant. Like I said, these people, their life is a series of the same shit over and over again. It's a cycle, because they're stagnant. There's no healing process, because they deny their emotions. They deny reality. And what's interesting is you'll see a lot of people who are toxically positive in real life, but online, oh, they'll be the biggest trolls. I see you. I know who you guys are. You're the self-proclaimed nice guy or nice girl, but online you get to be a nasty bitch. I know who you guys are. So they have all this internal conflict, and the best way for them to get it out is on a troll page online, because in real life they're pussy. That's what most, not all, but that's what most toxic positive people are like. Or you have to pay people who are toxically positive to strangers, but they come home and they are beasts to their families. These are different forms of toxic positivity, and they all make space for a disillusioned and delusional person. So like I said, they have all this internal conflict because they're not doing the work. They're not making space for their own emotions. They're not analyzing, because y'all have to understand that logic and emotions are complementary. They marry. You need both to be a well-rounded person. I'm a very logical person, but I'm also a very empathetic person. I'm also a very self-aware person because I live in reality. I take note of my emotions. I don't neglect myself, at least not in that way. Put it like that. I don't neglect my emotions. I don't neglect my mental health. I don't like feeling energetically or spiritually heavy, which is something that I have worked on over the years, just getting rid of all of that weight, all that baggage. So I don't allow for conflict to come towards me, and I don't do anything in that moment. For the most part, I say at least around 90% of the time, I'm going to do something in that moment instead of just remaining quiet and going home and then think about what I could have done. That's toxic positivity. You want to avoid that. You want to look at the conflict in the eye, whether it's internal or external, and address it. Whenever you're feeling angry, address it. Whenever you're feeling sad, address it. Confused, you address it. If it's just you and you just invoking that emotion out of nowhere, definitely address it. If it's you with someone else, try your best to do it in a way that won't cause a battle. But always understand this: if people respond negatively to you stating how you feel, you don't need those people around you. And a lot of times, toxic positive people are yes people. They're yes men. They're afraid of losing others, so they have no boundaries. And again, like I said, they deny reality. So we're going to talk about how shadow work works, how shadow work helps you to defeat the toxic positivity demon. Now I want to say, before I start, here's some more disclaimers. I know some people out here that's like, how can positivity be toxic? It's you overly optimistic motherfuckers who act like there's no other emotion besides joy. There are other emotions besides joy. And when you deny those emotions, you're ultimately denying a very important gift that God gave us. We are able, as higher intelligent animals, to really convey to other people what we feel. Now, I don't know about other animals. I'm sure they all have their own form of communication, of course. But the way that we can tell people how we feel, I don't think any other animal has that gift. So we can't deny that. Don't deny the gift. So you want to confront darkness. You want to confront the darkness. You want to confront your own darkness. You want to confront the darkness in other people if it's brought to your doorstep. Now, they just doing something over there and you want to remain safe, that's fine. But I'm talking about people who are doing darkness against you. You can determine what that darkness is. But you want to confront it, and you want to confront it bravely, with little to no fear. It's okay to be fearful, because that's another emotion that we have to address. You have to make space for it. It's okay to be afraid. We are alive. Fight or flight is an important part of your brain. It's how it works. But you have to learn how to decipher between fake fear and real fear. Real fear is, are you in danger? If you're in danger, then you have every right to be afraid. If there's no real fear, if the fear is fear of rejection, which you know you can be rejected, nothing's bad going to happen to you being rejected, I promise. Nobody dies from being rejected. People die from rejecting, but nobody dies from being rejected. I promise. You will survive. Okay? So the fear is rooted in disillusion, right? Just an emotion. You're afraid of feeling a certain way. Then you need to act anyway. So confront whatever it is. Confront that dark past that you have. Confront the family trauma that you have. Confront the relationship trauma that you had, the friendship trauma. Confront your own self-deprecating ways, your self-harming ways. Confront that. You got to confront it. You got to look it in the eye and just say, hey, I want to address this. I want to know where it came from. Why do I behave this way? And just so y'all can know, a little CBT, it's the thought, it's the feeling, and then it's the behavior. Figure out what thought triggers a certain feeling that triggers a certain behavior. Once you start there, that's almost pretty much all you can do. And you got to keep going back as far as you possibly can to your first memory. That's what shadow work does, is just going back to your dark moments and just trying to pull yourself out the light. Pull that young version of you out the light. Pull that childhood version of you out the light. Because most of your trauma happened in childhood. Most human trauma happened from the age of 0 to 18, specifically 0 to 10. Those are the most pivotal years where trauma can do its worst. Okay. So again, like I said, when it comes to shadow work, it is about assigning accountability. So you're going to look at these past situations and you're going to ask yourself, what could I have done differently? Not to paint yourself as a victor or a victim, as the villain or the hero, but just what you could have done different. Objective. Because a lot of people